Hello guys, so today I just kind of wanted to talk about the rise in people just calling like literally anything corny or like cringe, or whatever you want to call it. And this has been something that's been on my mind for a while now. And this actually goes hand in hand with a lot of stuff that I do talk about. And so this is from my understanding. I'm going to start my sentence obviously. But my personal take on this is that being what people call corny is not an issue, and it's actually harmful to call people corny. And I don't know if that's like a hot take, but I think the concept of being corny is stupid. Like, okay, so this is the way I think about it. I've been on the internet for a long time, since I was like really young. And obviously that's not a good thing. But I remember a time, it was obviously like this, it was obviously like an era of being like considered cringe to do things before. But around the 2020, 2021 mark, that in my opinion was genuinely the golden age of the internet. And it's not a thing of, oh, you just had more time to stay inside. No, I think it was genuinely a thing of internet culture, which it was just very different back then, you know what I mean? In particular, there was an element of people just were accepting, right? It was, especially on TikTok, it wasn't as much like this on other platforms, but this is when TikTok was really blowing up with a much wider audience. Obviously it was popular before, but it got really, really popular near the beginning of like quarantine and stuff. And when this happened, TikTok was considered a place for people that would be considered like corny nowadays, right? It wasn't cool to have something like TikTok. And this isn't meant to be a thing of, oh, it's cool now, so I don't like it. No, it's a thing of the culture on the platform has completely shifted from what it was initially. And it's gone from somewhere where it's like okay to be yourself and just like everyone has niche interests and everyone is just kind of like doing their own thing. People can be cringe or whatever, and that's fine. Like I hear a lot of people describe that era as like to be cringe is to be free, where people will just kind of wouldn't care about being called cringe and like wouldn't really care about things being cringe as much as they do now. Yeah, so I think a huge element of this is the culture of these platforms, especially TikTok, as I said before, has shifted a lot. And I think that is an issue, right? When people like, think about it this way. Take any indie animation thing. There are people just calling people who like that thing just like cringe and like terrible things. Like I remember the Digital Circus, obviously it has controversies now, but even before there were like actual controversies, people were, I don't even want to say because people were like saying terrible things, but like people would just describe Digital Circus fans as like horrible people. And it's like, what are we doing? Just because someone has an interest you don't agree with does not mean you should, you know, harass them and say, oh, you're a terrible person and I don't like this, so it means that you're corny and I don't like you and you're just cringe. And I get someone being called cringe obviously doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But let me try to put it into perspective. If one person is calling people corny or cringe, that's one thing. But if it's a whole group of people who just hate fun and are just on the internet specifically just because they don't like it when other people have other interests than them, I think that is where it becomes a problem. I feel like it becomes a problem before that, but like, you know, as someone who's on the internet who has niche interests, I don't think it doesn't affect me that much. Honestly, this is a little bit of a secret. Well, it's not really a secret. If people ask, this is what I say. I struggle with reading my comments because I get a lot of comments, I get a lot of views, and it just stresses me out. I don't know why. I know most of my comments are probably pretty nice. I have like a 99% like dislike ratio. It's just I get so stressed thinking about it. So it doesn't really affect me simply because I don't read them. But for someone who isn't like me, who doesn't already have the prior knowledge of just like, oh, I'm just gonna be wary of looking at my comments because I know it's bad for my mental health, that can really strain on someone, right? Just being berated by a bunch of random people on the internet really sucks. Right? Like, think about it this way. It's basically, a lot of it sometimes does come to just being bullying towards people who you think are cringe. It's also a thing of, I noticed this with like animators. There are like animation trends, people will immediately start calling them corny and then like sending threats to animators, and it's like a problem, right? Like I genuinely think that if it gets to a point of you calling something cringe, okay, you can call something cringe, you cannot agree with it. If it gets to the point where there's like hundreds of people spamming it in a comment section, and like people are getting like threats and like a lot of hate over it, it gets to a point where it's like, you know, and this is the thing too, like I never understand this. if you don't like something on the internet, just don't engage with it. Like, I don't understand why that's so hard. Calling something corny, you don't have to do that. You could just be like, okay, I don't like this, and then just not engage. And then the thing is too, which I don't know if people are doing this intentionally or not, if you don't engage with the media, the algorithm won't recommend you more. If you just immediately scroll because like, oh, I don't care about this is cringe, don't interact and just ignore it. Because if it gets to a point where you are actively engaging with content that you don't like simply to spread hate, that is inherently a problem, right? That's just the way I think about it, right? But it's even more than that too, because it's especially an issue with like people regarding indie animation, but it's also like humor, right? Like people, for example, will hate on people who like certain memes within a community. Like, there will be people in a community who will hate on other people within that same community for something that they specifically find cringy about one aspect of the community. Like, I think if I remember correctly, there was this element of it with Vocaloid where a lot of like fans like call like a Vocaloid call people who are new gens bad and like cringy and like they have terrible jokes. And it's like, okay, so this is the way, like, okay, so this is coming from someone who's been a Vocaloid fan since like 2018 or 2017, 2018, right? New gens are not a problem. Let's be so real. Like, there is no issue with having new people enter the fandom, and actually it's a good thing, because if new people don't enter the fandom, then the fandom dies. Like, I don't understand why people treat it as such a terrible thing to happen. Because if your fandom's not growing, people are gonna be slowly leaving, and then it's just gonna die. And I think people would rather have a fandom that's not completely gone because you just rejected everyone outside of the fandom. At least, I mean, that's what I think. I think rejecting everyone from coming into a fandom that you like is probably not the smartest idea if you want the fandom to survive. You know what I mean? And I mean, in general, I've never really had an issue like with new gen stuff, and I don't even think like new gen and old gen in terms of fan culture are just such bad terms, in my opinion, right? I feel like they don't make a lot of sense, and it's just to like separate us versus them, right? It's meant to create these dynamics of people being anti each other, and I think that's a problem. There's also a thing of, especially in Vocaloid, where if you don't like the new gen stuff and you honestly just don't like it, and it's not just because you want to hate on something, don't engage with, like, the thing is with Vocaloid that's really special about the fandom is there is so much stuff made. There's so many songs. Like, if you don't like new gen songs, sure, and you say, but like, and like you say, oh, all the new songs are Miku Teto slop and they're terrible and I hate them. And like, dude, okay, think about it this way. Maybe that's just because people like those right now, right? And it's also a thing of like, even so, like, by far not all of them are, right? Like, literally take like 5 minutes, try to go through search, try to find songs that might not be as popular. I know it's scary to look at things that aren't as popular to find something you might enjoy, because you only want the popular things to be what you enjoy. Go through the time of trying to find these things that might not be as popular, but you'll enjoy more, right? It's not a scary thing to do that. Like, if you think, oh, I don't like this new Vocaloid songs because it's like terrible, and it's like, just like look for something you will enjoy then, rather than wasting your time on just hating on it. You know what I mean? Like, if people enjoy something, that's fine, as long as it's not like actively harmful, and it's not like, you know, like, why would you hate on someone for doing something that isn't a problem, really? Like, enjoying a different type of song than you is not, it's like a non-issue. It's like legitimately a non-issue. And I think a lot of people do genuinely need to realize that not everyone's gonna have the same taste in music as them. Not everyone's gonna have the same taste in jokes as them. And that's okay. You are allowed to have different opinions than someone. But going out of your way to hate on it instead of trying to be like, okay, well, I don't like this, let's try to find some other stuff that I do like, right? And that's the thing with my channel too. I don't like to make videos on things that I don't like. And a lot of people call me someone who just like glazes songs. It was especially a thing earlier on. It's not as much anymore, I don't think, because I don't enjoy hating on things. Like, unless it's like an actively harmful thing that needs to be talked about, like, for example, with this higher stance, which was the racism stuff, with Liar Macron with the AI stuff. I mean, other than that, I mean, if it's like not an actual like issue, it's just something I don't like or don't enjoy, I'm not gonna talk about something I don't like just to berate someone that I don't like their music, I'm just not gonna engage with it. Especially considering if you engage with something that you don't like, it's only making it more popular. And then more people will see it, right? So if you really don't like something, just like don't engage with it and immediately and just move on. Like if you truly have a hatred for it, just ignore it. That's kind of the message of the video. If you see something you don't like and it's not being like actively harmful, just move on. It doesn't matter. And even if it is being actively harmful, report it or like make a video talking about it. But don't just leave hate comments on the video because that literally does nothing other than push the original video more. So yeah, I guess that's it. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm planning on doing a bunch of these. I've already done, this is my third one of these like kind of rant videos. So I would really appreciate if you guys subscribed. Yeah, obviously, and like the video. And yeah, bye.